Let me tell y'all something. Life ain't easy. Anybody who tells you it is either lying or trying to sell you something. Life will test you. Life will knock you down so hard, you'll think you can't get back up. But here's the truth. You can. And the key to getting back up, that's faith. Faith is the key to everything. Not some things, everything. You got to understand. Faith ain't about seeing the whole staircase. It's about taking that first step when all you can see is darkness. You think successful people wait until everything lines up perfect before they make a move? No, they jump, they leap, and they trust that God, the universe, whatever you believe in, is going to catch them on the way down or teach them how to fly. Now, don't confuse faith with wishing. Faith is not sitting on your couch hoping something happens. Faith is putting in the work even when you can't see the reward yet. It's waking up early when nobody's watching. It's grinding when you're tired. It's praying when you feel broken. And it's thanking God before the blessing even shows up. People always say, I'll believe it when I see it. That's not how it works. You got to believe it to see it. That's faith. Faith is what kept you going when you wanted to quit. Faith is what got you through that heartbreak, that sickness, that job loss. You didn't think you were going to make it. But look at you. You're still here. Let me drop this on you. When you're facing a challenge, don't tell your faith how big your problem is. Tell your problem how big your faith is. Faith don't mean life's going to be easy, but it does mean you're never walking alone. That there's something bigger than you walking beside you, holding you up when you can't hold yourself. So if you're out there wondering if it's ever going to happen for you, that dream, that breakthrough, that peace you've been searching for, hear me when I say, don't give up. Don't you dare give up. Because faith is the key to everything. Thank you. Faith is action, not just belief. That's a truth most people overlook. We often associate faith with sitting still and waiting on a sign, waiting on a perfect moment, waiting on someone else to make a move. But real faith isn't passive. Real faith puts boots on the ground. It moves, it grinds, it wakes up early. Even when the body is tired, it studies late. Even when the mind is worn out, faith shows up when no one is clapping. It keeps going. There's no cheering, no spotlight, no applause. Just a deep, quiet confidence that something greater is coming. A lot of folks misunderstand what faith actually is. They think it's just some spiritual concept floating around, something you think about only in church or when life gets hard. But faith is not just about believing in something higher. Faith is about believing in something so strongly that it shapes how you live, how you talk, how you carry yourself up at the door. It's believing so deeply that you make decisions based on that belief. Even when logic says otherwise, even when people laugh at you, even when your circumstances try to tell you to quit. You don't need faith when everything is going right. You don't need faith when the money is flowing, the doors are opening, and everything's lining up exactly as planned. No, faith shows up in the storm. Faith shows up when you've been told in no 5. Faith shows up when there's more month than money, when your friends don't understand you, when your family thinks you've lost your mind for chasing a dream that only you can see. Faith is what makes you put in the application even after being rejected. It's what makes you practice your craft even when no one's booking you. It's what makes you invest in yourself when you don't have proof that it's going to pay off. Now, let's be clear. Faith doesn't make everything easy. It's not a shortcut. It won't remove the grind. What faith does is give your struggle meaning. Just start. Some of the biggest moves you'll ever make in life will begin with nothing but a whisper in your heart and a crazy kind of courage. But that's all you need. Because once you start moving, once you start doing your part, doors start opening, people start noticing. Opportunities start lining up. Not because you forced it, but because your faith made room for it. Faith is the seed. Action is the water. Without both, nothing grows. Too many people sit on their dreams like they're going to grow on their own. But dreams without action are just wishes. And wishes won't change your life. Work will. Vision will. Faith in motion will. The world doesn't owe you a thing. But faith equips you to go out there and earn it, create it, build it, fight for it. Take the first step even if you can't see the whole path. That's where real faith begins. Not at the finish line, not at the point of certainty, but right at the edge of uncertainty. Most people are waiting to feel ready. They want clarity before they make a move. But life doesn't work that way. The truth is, if you wait until you have every detail, every resource, and every piece of the puzzle, you'll be waiting forever. The journey doesn't start with a full plan. It starts with a decision. That first step is scary because it requires trust. Trust is something bigger than you. Trust in the process. Trust in yourself. It's stepping out onto the road when all you have is a direction and no map. It's like driving at night with your headlights on. You can only see a few feet ahead, but you can still make the whole trip that way. Faith doesn't give you the full picture. It gives you just enough light to take the next step, and then the next, and then next. That's how the path unfolds, not all at once, but little by little. People often think the ones who succeed had it all figured out from the beginning, that they had a perfect blueprint, a flawless strategy. But the reality is most people who reached their goals started with more questions than answers. They were unsure. They had doubts. They weren't ready. But they moved anyway. They started the business without knowing if it would take off. They applied for the job without knowing if they'd get a call back. They showed up for the audition, wrote the book, launched the idea, without a guarantee of success. They stepped out on nothing but a belief that something was possible, and that's what separates dreamers from doers. Doers move when it's uncomfortable. They don't need to see the whole staircase. They just trust that the next step will appear when it's supposed to. They don't let uncertainty paralyze them. They don't let fear dictate their pace. They know that momentum matters more than perfection. That movement creates clarity. The first step leads to insight, which leads to growth, which leads to opportunities that would have stayed hidden if they never moved at all. The first step is also where doubt is loudest. That's when the voices in your head get real active. Or what if I fail? What if I fail? Or what if I'm not good enough? Or what if this doesn't work? Those are normal thoughts. That don't disqualify you. They're not a sign to stop. They're a sign you're doing something worth doing. Because anything worth having comes with resistance. But faith is choosing to walk anyway, carrying the fear, carrying the doubt, carrying the uncertainty, and walking anyway. That's courage. That's where transformation begins. Think about a baby learning to walk. That baby doesn't wait until it understands balance and stride and posture. It doesn't wait until it knows how to run. It just takes that first wobble, falls, gets back up, tries again. That's how all progress works. It's messy at the start. It's full of trial and error. But nothing happens until you start. Sometimes the first step is leaving what's familiar. Maybe it's leaving a job that no longer fulfills you, walking away from a relationship that's holding you back, or stepping outside of the identity others have placed on you. That step is hard because comfort feels safe even when it's suffocating. But nothing great ever grows in comfort. If you want something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. That means letting go of the shore to discover new oceans. That means being willing to walk into the unknown. Some people think they need more motivation, more inspiration. But most of the time, what they need is movement. Because once you move, something shifts. That one step, even if it's small, changes your perspective. You see things you couldn't see before. You discover resources you didn't know you had. You meet people who are aligned with your vision. But none of that can happen if you stay frozen, trying to control every variable before you act. The path only reveals itself to those who walk it. You can't calculate your way into a miracle. You can't strategize your way into purpose. You have to walk. You have to commit before the details are clear. That's the essence of faith, committing to something you believe in, even when the evidence isn't there yet. That's how every masterpiece begins, as a mess. Every mountain climb begins with a single step at the base. Every story worth telling starts with someone who decided to move forward before they had it all together. There's also something powerful that happens when you take that first step. Your confidence grows. Not because everything suddenly works out, but because you realize you didn't need to have all the answers to make progress. You realize that you are stronger than your excuses, more resilient than your fears, and more capable than your doubts led you to believe. Every step you take is proof that you're not waiting on the world to give you permission. You're giving yourself permission. You don't have to see the end. You just need enough faith to start. Start when it's messy. Start when you're scared. Start when you don't know how it's going to turn out. Start when you feel alone. Start when people don't understand you. Because that's how doors open. That's how paths get cleared. That's how breakthroughs happen. Not from sitting still, but from showing up. And yes, you might stumble. You might take the wrong turn. You might fail. But even failure teaches. Even a wrong step can lead you to the right lesson. That's how faith works. It uses everything. It wastes nothing. Every move you make becomes part of the story. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment becomes a stepping stone towards something greater. But it starts with that first step. When you take that step, you're not just moving physically. You're making a declaration. You're saying, I believe in this vision. I believe in this dream. I believe that what's ahead is worth it. You're telling the world and yourself that you're not going to be held hostage by fear or doubt anymore. You're taking ownership. You're activating faith. It's easy to watch others move and think they had something you didn't. But the truth is they had questions too. They had uncertainty too. What they had was just enough courage to take the step anyway. And if they can do it, so can you. You don't need the whole picture. You don't need a perfect plan. You need one step, one act of bravery, one moment of movement. That's how momentum is built. Faith grows in motion. It doesn't grow in the shadows of hesitation. It grows when you lean into the unknown, when you dare to do what others won't, when you bet on yourself. That first step may not look like much to others, but to you, it's everything. It's the start of the journey. It's the foundation of transformation. It's the difference between dreaming and doing. Faith isn't about knowing how it will work. It's about knowing that it will work somehow, some way, and being bold enough to move even when the path isn't clear. Believe it before you see it. That's one of the hardest lessons to grasp, especially in a world where people rely so heavily on what they can touch, measure, or prove. Most folks want to see results before they put in the effort. They want evidence before they commit. But the truth is, almost every great accomplishment starts with a belief long before it becomes visible. Faith is the bridge between where you are and where you're going, and that bridge is built on belief, not proof. Believing it before you see, it means you operate from vision, not from circumstance. You stop waiting for everything to look perfect before you act. You stop waiting for someone else to validate your dream. Instead, you begin to believe in your purpose so deeply that it becomes real in your heart before it ever becomes real in the world. That belief becomes the driving force behind your actions. It fuels your hustle. It shapes your decisions. It influences the way you speak about yourself, your future, and your possibilities. This kind of belief isn't about lying to yourself. It's not about pretending everything is okay when it's not. It's about seeing beyond your current reality and choosing to focus on what can be instead of what is. That's not delusion. That's vision. Every great leader, innovator, artist, or athlete had to believe in something that didn't exist yet. They had to believe in their talent, their mission, their dream before anyone else could see it, before they got the job, before they won the award, before they had a following or a title or a track record. They had to walk by faith, not by sight. People often wait for a sign that they're on the right path. But sometimes the only sign you'll ever get is the fire in your gut that says, this matters. Sometimes all you have is a whisper in your spirit and the courage to follow it. You might not have the full plan. You might not have the money, the network, or the experience. But if you've got belief, genuine, deep-rooted belief, you've got a starting point. And that belief will pull you through setbacks, through rejections, through lonely seasons, and through moments when quitting feels easier than continuing. The problem is, society has trained us to only trust what we can see. If there's no diploma, no paycheck, no title, no evidence, we start doubting. But belief is the opposite of that mindset. Belief means planting the seed and watering it before there's even a sprout. It means practicing your gift before anyone pays you for it. It means speaking life over your dreams when everyone else is speaking doubt. Belief is showing up to the gym before you see the muscle, studying before you pass the exam, building before there are buyers. The truth is, people will think you're crazy. They'll say you're unrealistic. They'll call you a dreamer in a tone that sounds more like an insult than a compliment. But that's okay. They're not supposed to see it. You are. That vision was given to you, not them. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to believe so deeply that eventually the results speak for themselves. The belief has to live in you long enough to survive the season of invisibility, because there will be a season where nothing looks like it's working. There will be times when your efforts feel like they're producing nothing. That's when most people quit, not because they lack talent, but because they lack belief. When you believe in something before you can see it, your energy changes. You carry yourself differently. You stop asking for permission. As in no, you stop begging people to support you. You start creating your own momentum. You speak as if it's already happening. You walk into rooms with confidence. You take risks. You put yourself out there. And you do it all not because you're arrogant, but because your belief won't let you sit still. That belief becomes a vision so vivid in your heart that it feels real. Even before it's tangible, there's a power that comes from visualizing your goals. Not just daydreaming, but mentally rehearsing them, seeing yourself in the place you want to be, doing the things you want to do. That kind of visualization isn't just fluff. It's a mental exercise that prepares your mind to receive what you're working for. Athletes do it before games. Speakers do it before performances. Entrepreneurs do it before launching their business. They see the victory before it happens. They speak about their future in present tense language. That's not wishful thinking. That's strategic belief. But belief isn't passive. You can't just sit around and hope your dream finds you. Belief has to be followed by work. It has to show up in your habits, your priorities, your discipline. If you say you believe in yourself, but you're not willing to do the hard work behind closed doors, that belief is just lip service. Real belief wakes you up early. It makes you keep going after you hear the no. It pushes you to practice, to study, to grind, to grow, even when no one's watching. Belief backed by action is unstoppable. And let's be honest, there will be days when your belief gets shaky, when you question the dream, when you doubt yourself, when your bank account is low, your phone is silent, and the world seems to be ignoring your effort. In those moments, you have to go back to the reason you started. You have to remind yourself why it matters. You have to dig deep and reignite that belief. You have to speak over yourself when no one else is doing it. That's when belief becomes personal. That's when it becomes your anchor. Sometimes belief means speaking about things that aren't real yet as though they already are. That's not arrogance, it's alignment. You're aligning your language, your mindset, and your actions with where you're going. That creates power. That draws people, opportunities, and resources to you. That's how you shift your environment to match your vision. And when the results start to show, when the vision becomes visible, people will act like it happened overnight. They'll see the success, but not the struggle. They'll see the spotlight, but not the silent seasons. What they won't see is how long you believed before you ever saw a thing. They won't see the nights you stayed up working, the days you pushed through fear, the moments you had to encourage yourself when no one else would. That invisible work is the foundation of every visible win. When you believe it before you see it, you become the kind of person who creates reality, not just reacts to it. You stop living at the mercy of your circumstances. You become proactive, intentional, powerful. You move with purpose. You stop waiting for proof and become the proof. Because belief has a way of pulling you into your destiny. It opens your eyes to possibilities that others miss. It gives you the strength to walk away from things that don't serve your vision. It makes you more resilient, more focused, more determined. And belief attracts belief. When people see someone who truly believes in what they're doing, they're drawn to it. They want to be part of it. They want to support it. Belief is contagious. It spreads energy. It builds momentum. But it has to start with you. You have to believe it first. You have to carry that vision in your heart until the world catches up. You have to believe so boldly that nothing can shake it. Not rejection, not failure, not the opinions of people who don't see what you see. When doors close, it's not the end of the story. It's easy to feel defeated when something you were hoping for, praying for, working towards suddenly slips away. Maybe it's the job you didn't get, the business that didn't take off, the opportunity that disappeared just when you thought it was guaranteed. You put your energy into it. You had a vision for it. You told people about it, and then it crumbled. That moment feels like failure, but it's not. It's faith at work in disguise. Closed doors are not rejection, they're redirection. Faith teaches you to trust not just in what opens, but in what closes. That takes maturity, that takes growth. Anyone can have faith when things are going their way, but real faith is revealed when the plan falls apart. When what you wanted doesn't happen and you choose to believe that there's still a bigger plan unfolding. That kind of faith doesn't get shaken by a no, because it understands that not all the no's are punishment. Some are protection. Some are preparation. Some are positioning you for something greater. Sometimes the thing you're chasing isn't actually meant for you. Maybe it looks good on the surface, Maybe it feels right because it's familiar or comfortable, but faith knows the difference between what's good and what's right. It knows when to walk away. It knows that just because a door is shiny doesn't mean it leads to where you're meant to go. And so when that door closes, instead of breaking down, you learn to bow your head and say, I trust that what's for me won't miss me. It's in those moments of loss or delay or rejection that you start to build spiritual strength. You start to realize you were never in control anyway. You controlled anyway. You were always being guided. That job you didn't get might have saved you from a toxic environment. That relationship that ended might have cleared space for one that truly aligns with your destiny. That business that failed might have been a stepping stone to the one that's going to flourish. But in the moment, all you feel is the sting, the disappointment, the confusion. That's where faith comes in and says, there's more. You can't see it yet, but there's more. Faith doesn't ask you to ignore your pain. It doesn't tell you to pretend everything is okay. It tells you to look at the pain through a new lens. It says, even this will serve a purpose. It tells you that nothing is wasted. Every delay is developing something in you. Every disappointment is shaping your character. Every door that shuts is removing distractions and clearing your path. Faith says, I know this hurts, but I also know it's leading somewhere better. That's not always easy to believe, especially when you're in the middle of it. When you're facing setback after setback, it can start to feel personal, like you're being punished, like you're cursed or forgotten. But faith reminds you that rejection is often a form of divine protection. It's not because you're not worthy. It's because you are, and the thing you thought you wanted isn't worthy of you. That door shut not because you were lacking, but because you're destined for something that door could never contain. And sometimes a closed door is the only way we'll move. We get so attached to our plans, our timelines, our expectations, that we resist change. We stay in jobs too long. We settle in relationships we've outgrown. We shrink ourselves to fit into environments that no longer feed us. And then something happens. A door closes, and suddenly we're forced to shift. We're pushed into a new space. It feels like chaos at first, but in time we see the grace in it. We see how that closed door was the catalyst for growth we never would have chosen voluntarily. There are also times when the door doesn't slam shut. It just slowly drifts closed. You start to feel misaligned. You start to feel restless. That's faith whispering to you, nudging you, telling you there's more. And if you ignore it, eventually the door will close completely. Not as punishment, but as confirmation that it's time to level up, that it's time to move on, that the season you were in has served its purpose, and there's a new chapter waiting. But to walk through a new door, you have to stop banging on the old one. That's one of the hardest lessons of faith, letting go, releasing your grip on something that once made sense. We hold on to what's familiar even if it's no longer fruitful. We replay conversations, we revisit regrets, we try to figure out what went wrong. But faith says, oh, you're wasting energy on a door that's already closed. It teaches you to bless the door that's shut and focus on the one that's about to open. Because every time something ends, something else is beginning. You don't have to understand it to trust it. That's the essence of faith. It doesn't mean you don't have questions. It doesn't mean you're never frustrated. It means you believe that even in the confusion, something is being orchestrated on your behalf. Something that will make sense later. Something that will remind you why that door had to close. And when you finally walk into the space you were meant for, you'll look back and realize that the closed door wasn't the problem. It was the pathway. Sometimes the door closes and nothing else opens right away. That in-between season can feel unbearable. It's silent. It's uncertain. It's vulnerable. You're not where you were, but you're not where you're going either. That's the testing ground. That's where your faith has to be stronger than your feelings. That's where patience becomes power, because what you do in the hallway determines how prepared you'll be for what's behind the next door. If you rush it, you might miss it. If you give up, you might forfeit what's already on its way. But if you stay grounded, if you stay faithful, if you keep believing even without a sign, that's where real breakthroughs are born. Closed doors also help clarify your values. They remind you of what matters. Sometimes we're chasing things that have nothing to do with our true purpose, status, validation, approval. And then the door shuts and we're forced to ask, was I even chasing the right thing? That kind of reflection is sacred. It realigns you. It brings you back to your center. It makes sure that when the next door opens, you're walking into it with the right heart, the right mindset, and the right intentions. Faith is not just about expecting the open door. It's about honoring the closed ones, thanking them for what they taught. But what they saved you from, for how they reshaped your vision. Because without their no's, you wouldn't be ready for the yes. Without the disappointments, you wouldn't develop resilience. Without the redirections, you wouldn't discover your destiny. Closed doors refine your focus. They eliminate what's not meant for you. They challenge your assumptions. They sharpen your instincts. And when the right door opens, it won't require forcing. It won't require begging. It will feel aligned. It will flow. It will stretch you, yes, but it will also fit you. It will feel like a divine yes. And you'll know it's yours, not because it was easy, but because everything leading up to it, every closed door, every delay, every setback was preparing you for it. That's how faith works. It's not just believing for the blessing. It's trusting the process that leads to it. It's staying faithful, not just when everything is working, but especially when it's not. Faith without action is just a wish. A lot of people talk about what they're going to do. They say they're waiting on a sign or the right time or the perfect opportunity. But what they're really doing is hesitating. They've got dreams, but no drive. They've got vision, but no movement. And faith, real, living faith, is not passive. It doesn't sit around hoping something magical happens. It gets up, it moves, it works, it builds, it prepares. Because belief without effort is like a car with no engine. You can sit in it all day, but you're not going anywhere. Action is the evidence of belief. You say you believe you're meant to be a writer, then say you believe you're supposed to start that business, then start building it. You say you've got faith your life will change, then let your habits reflect that. One of the biggest signs of faith is not what you do once, but what you do repeatedly. Anybody can be inspired for a day. Anyone can put in effort for a week. But real faith shows up day after day, even when the excitement fades. Real faith wakes up early when you rather sleep in. Real faith works late when it'd be easier to quit. Real faith pushes through distractions, doubts, and dry seasons because it's rooted in something deeper than motivation. It's rooted in conviction. Sometimes the results come slowly. You act in faith and nothing changes, at least not right away. That's when the temptation to give up kicks in. But you can't let the lack of immediate results make you doubt the power of your actions. Seeds take time to grow. Foundations take time to build. Faith says, even if I don't see fruit yet, I'm going to keep watering. Because you understand that your job isn't to control the outcome. It's to stay faithful in the process. You don't force the blessing. You prepare for it, and preparation is action. It's being ready when the opportunity arrives. There's also a truth many people avoid. Faith will stretch you. It'll ask you to do things that don't make sense to other people. It'll call you to walk away from comfort. It'll pull you out of your routine and push you into purpose. And that process is messy. It's uncertain, but it's necessary. Because the more you act in faith, the more you grow into the person who can handle the thing you're believing for. You don't just receive the blessing, you become someone worthy of carrying it. And that transformation only happens through action. Even failure becomes part of the journey when faith is in the driver's seat. Because when you move in faith and fall short, you still win. You learn, you grow, you adjust. Failure isn't the opposite of faith, it's a byproduct of trying. The only true failure is never trying at all. Faith says, I'm going to do this, even if I stumble. And with every misstep, you gain wisdom, you develop grit, you become more resilient. That's the stuff that lasts. That's the stuff success is built on. The world is full of dreamers, but not enough doers. Not enough people willing to turn faith into footsteps. If you want to stand out, move. Move when it's risky. Move when it's quiet. Move when nobody else gets it. Your actions become your declaration. They tell the world, I believe in what I'm building. They tell yourself, this is worth the effort. And every time you show up in faith, you create new possibilities. You become a magnet for opportunity. Because the universe responds to movement. It rewards boldness. It honors those who don't just believe, but build. Faith brings peace when nothing else makes sense. It's the quiet voice in your heart that says, keep going. Everything around you is screaming, give up. It's the calm in the middle of the chaos, the anchor in the storm, the steady hand that keeps you grounded when life spins out of control. There are moments in life when logic fails, when answers are nowhere to be found, and when every plan you made seems to fall apart. It's in those moments that faith steps in, not with explanations, but with assurance. It doesn't necessarily change the situation immediately, but it changes how you see it, how you walk through it, and how you endure it. You can have the whole world applauding you, cheering you on, giving you advice, but none of it matters if you don't have inner peace. Faith gives you that. It's not something anyone else can hand you. It's not found in money and titles and achievements. Those things can collapse in an instant. People can change their minds. Jobs can end. Opportunities can slip through your fingers. But faith is internal. It's personal. It's between you and the divine. And when you have it, when you really cultivate it, it becomes a shelter, a shield, a source of stability that doesn't waver just because circumstances do. When you're facing uncertainty, when the bills are due and the account is low, when the diagnosis is unclear, when the relationship is crumbling, faith is what whispers, this is not the end. It helps you hold on when logic says to let go. It lets you sleep at night even though the problems aren't solved yet. That kind of peace can't be faked. It can't be forced. It comes from something deeper than understanding. Because there are situations that will break your heart, confuse your mind, shake your foundation. And in those situations, trying to figure it out only adds to the stress. Faith gives you permission to stop figuring and start trusting, to surrender what you can't control and believe that something greater is at work. There's a power in knowing you don't have to have all the answers. Some people live in constant anxiety because they think they have to manage every detail, fix every problem, anticipate every outcome. That's exhausting. That's paralyzing. Faith sets you free from that. It reminds you that you were never meant to carry everything. You don't have to know how it's all going to work out to move forward. You don't have to see the finish line to take the next step. Faith says, breathe, rest, keep moving. You are held. You are guided. You are not alone. And when you learn to trust like that, life changes, not always on the outside, but definitely on the inside. Your reactions change. You don't panic the way you used to. You don't let fear run the show. You stop needing everything to be perfect before you feel okay. That's the gift of faith. It anchors your emotions. It keeps your spirit steady. It teaches you how to walk through fire without being consumed by it. The fire might still burn, the challenges might still come, but your peace doesn't have to leave with them. You begin to experience life differently because you're no longer a prisoner of your circumstances. You're powered by something deeper. Even in grief, faith offers comfort. When you lose someone you love, when life deals you a blow that you never saw coming, there's a kind of emptiness that words can't touch. People will try to help. They'll try to say the right things, but sometimes nothing they say can reach the part of you that's hurting. That's where faith comes in and fills the gaps that words can't. It reminds you that love doesn't end just because life does. It gives you strength to wake up again, to get out of bed, to keep breathing even when your heart is shattered. That peace, unexplainable, supernatural, that's the evidence of faith at work. You might see someone going through unimaginable hardship and wonder how they're still standing, how they still have a smile, how they still offer kindness. 9 times out of 10, it's faith. Not because everything is okay, but because they believe it will be, or at the very least, they believe that even in the worst of it, they are being held by something greater. That belief gives them perspective. It helps them rise above bitterness, above despair, above hopelessness. It allows them to keep giving when they feel empty, to keep loving when they've been hurt, to keep going the road is long and lonely. Faith doesn't guarantee that storms won't come. It doesn't promise a pain-free life, but it does promise presence. It promises that you'll never have to walk through it alone, that someone bigger, wiser, more powerful is walking with you. And knowing that, even if everything else is uncertain, can make all the difference. That's what peace is. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of confidence that you are not forsaken. There's a kind of peace that comes from letting go of outcomes, letting go of timing, letting go of needing to understand everything. That kind of surrender isn't weakness, it's strength. Because it takes strength to release control, to admit that your way might not be the best way, to trust in a process that doesn't come with a manual. Faith leads you to that release. It says, you've done what you can, now rest. That rest is what restores your energy. It's what renews your mind. It's what allows you to face another day with a clear heart and open spirit. Peace through faith also changes how you treat people. When you're not living in fear, when you're not constantly anxious or angry or resentful, you show up differently. You're more patient, more forgiving, more compassionate. You stop reacting from pain and start responding from purpose. Now you understand that people are fighting their own battles, carrying their own burdens, and your faith helps you extend grace. That shift doesn't just impact your own life. It ripples out to everyone around you. Peace is contagious. And when it's rooted in faith, it doesn't depend on external validation. It's consistent, it's genuine, it's healing. There will be days when nothing around you feels secure. Plans will fall apart. People will disappoint you. Systems will fail. But if you built your peace on faith, you won't collapse with those things. You'll feel them, yes. You'll grieve. You'll be human. But you'll rise too, because your foundation isn't made of fragile things. It's not made of temporary winds or shifting circumstance. It's made of trust. Trust that there is order in the chaos, that there is purpose in the pain, that even what you don't understand is still working for your good. Peace doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you ignore problems or pretend everything's fine. It means you confront those problems from a place of power, not panic. You face uncertainty with hope, not hysteria. You take action without losing your center. You move through life grounded, aware, resilient. And that kind of peace doesn't just benefit you, it makes you a safe place for others too. Oh, people feel it when you walk into a room. They feel that calm, that assurance, and they're drawn to it. That's the quiet influence of faith-filled peace. It speaks without shouting. It leads without force. It comforts without explanation. Peace from faith also keeps you from rushing. It slows you down. It teaches you the power of divine timing. When you're anxious, you push, you force, you chase. But when you have peace, you wait, you work, yes, but you're not desperate. You're not begging for outcomes. You know that what's meant for you will come. That confidence lets you move with grace, not stress. It helps you enjoy the journey, not just chase the destination. It turns the waiting room into a classroom. You start to learn in the silence. You start to grow in the stillness. You begin to trust the process even when it's quiet. Even when it's slow, even when it's hard, because faith has taught you that peace is not found in everything being perfect. It's found in trusting no matter what. So when the storms rise, when life doesn't go the way you plan, when the pressure mounts and the answers don't come, hold on to your faith. Let it ground you, guide you, and grow you. Because peace that comes from faith is not fragile. It's not temporary. It doesn't depend on perfect conditions. It's the kind of peace that steadies you in the waiting, strengthens you in the trials, and sustains you through every high and low. And when everything else fades, that peace remains. That's the kind of peace only faith can give. And once you've tasted it, you'll never want to live without it.